allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Monday, October 21st meeting of the Board of Aldermen. The first order of business is additions and deletions to the agenda. I've received requests to remove the special event permit for the Halloween Parade Children Viewing Area, remove the mayor's executive session, and remove Alderwoman Savage's committee report. She'll read it at our next meeting. I'd also like to move Alderwoman Taddeo's committee report up to immediately following Ed Bove and Stephanie Clarke's presentation on TIF, since the subject of the meeting is TIF. And the
So
letter.
moved. Second.
Any discussion or debate on the changes to the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up is amendment and approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Do I have
So
a...
moved. Second.
Great, so I have a motion to approve. It's been seconded. Any corrections or revisions to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up is public comment, where members of the public are invited to address the board on matters not on our agenda. I have a request from Maggie O'Brien from the Rutland Regional Planning Commission to talk about the local hazard mitigation plan. And a copy of the plan can be found on pages 1 to 36 of your packet. Welcome.
Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. Oh, is the mic typically not on, or?
It's for PEG TV.
Okay, got it. Got it. Okay, so thank you, everyone. My name is Maggie O'Brien. I am a regional planner with the Rutland Regional Planning Commission, and tonight I'm here to present the local hazard mitigation plan update. So first, I want to thank the city for allowing the Rutland Regional Planning Commission to support their work to update their current local hazard mitigation plan. Their last plan dates back to 2014. It's more of an annex as part of like a broader regional local hazard mitigation plan, and a lot of things have changed in the past 10 years. So the newest of these changes is the FEMA guidance that was released in 2023, which significantly raised the bar for, among other things, public outreach and community engagement. But the good news is we have a good working relationship with VEM staff who review these plans on the behalf of FEMA, so we're confident that we can get these updates through the process pretty quickly. And the other thing I want to stress is this wouldn't be possible without the wonderful work of our team members. So Bill Lovett, the fire chief. We have Bob Protovansky on the team, Tyler Richardson, Eric Pulver. He is the member of the Vermont Department of Health, which is located in the city, as well as Andrew Zernstein. So the reason I'm here today is to present the local team's work done to date. So in your packet, like the president was saying, is a copy of the working draft of the plan, dated with today's date, October 21st. And there is also a review tool that I would like to pass out. Am I allowed to reach over? Okay, awesome. So the review tool, the purpose of which is it essentially provides a rubric or a crosswalk to ensure that as we go through the plan development process, we're hitting each of the plan requirements as dictated by FEMA. And one of those requirements, as I mentioned, being meaningful opportunities for community engagement throughout the planning process, not just at the very end when we have a final draft asking for public comments, but from kickoff all the way to the final public comment period. So the reason I'm here, again, first critical milestone. So the mitigation team has completed the community hazard and risk assessment. If you look at the very start at the table of contents, you'll notice that all of the sections have page numbers, but you only have up to the end of section 5 at this point. Again, midpoint draft, so we will be working on section 6 in the upcoming months. And we will be circling back. I will be back here in the spring when the mitigation strategy, the plan maintenance, and the changes since 2014 is complete. So that will be coming up soon. So the plan outline, I'll just go through really quick. Section 1 is your introduction. Section 2 is your purpose. So really the purpose of this plan is to have a long-term investment strategy to guide the protection of assets in the region and the reduction of risk to those assets. Now, there's also a couple of other incentives to having a current local hazard mitigation plan, one of them being that you get access to FEMA funding, for example, following a declared federal disaster, like the July 2023 flooding. You have access to hazard mitigation grant program funds if you have an active FEMA-approved LHMP. Another big incentive is your ERAF rating, ERAF being the Emergency Relief Assistance Funding. So right now, the city has an ERAF rate of 7.5%. So let's say there was a project that was worth about $100 million. The city would have to cover 17.5% of that, so you'd be paying $175K. Whereas if you have a active local hazard mitigation plan and a couple of other requirements like having up-to-date road and bridge standards, having an active local emergency management plan, and things like that, your ERAF rate would be 12.5, and the city would then cover 12.5, and your 175K is now 125K. So big difference. Section 3 is the community profile, which is essentially hitting on the highlights of what makes Rutland City, Rutland City. And we certainly welcome any comments on that, but our main, what we're looking for public input-wise is mainly on Section 5, which I'll get to in a moment. Section 4 is the planning process. This is a work in progress until basically the final draft is ready. Kind of documenting what we did, when we did it, and when we hit the major milestones, for example, this presentation tonight. So Section 5 is the section we are most interested in soliciting public input on. This is our risk assessment. So the risk assessment essentially looks at a various range of natural hazards and assigns impact scores based on the magnitude and distribution of their impacts on things like people, the environment, the economy, and infrastructure. And then once we have those aggregate scores, we select the natural hazards that scored the highest and kind of draft highest risk profiles. So in the city's case, we ended up going with flooding, extreme heat, strong wind, and extreme cold, snow, and ice. We have profiles for each of those. And the profiles themselves, they start with a broad overview of the generic hazard information, so generally what the broader impacts are, followed by damage data from the state or Rutland County-wide. And then we really drill down into the community specifics, again, going into the impacts on people, infrastructure, environment, and economy. And this is where we really get into the story that makes Rutland City, Rutland City. So this is where we want people's input the most to help us make sure we're telling your story properly, that we're describing the risks properly, and that we are highlighting the things that are important to the community to protect. So in terms of next steps, after my presentation, we will be kicking off a 2-week public comment period. So from now until November 8th, so a little bit over 2 weeks, we are collecting public comments on the draft plan. You can find a copy of the draft plan in 2 places, one being here in City Hall. We have a physical copy as well as some large flood risk maps if you want to take a close look at those and which streets and areas we've designated as being high risk of flooding. We also have it at our landing page, which is tinyurl.com/Rutland LHMP 25. So our landing page not only has a copy of the draft plan, but also has kind of a snapshot of where we are in the planning process and where we will have other opportunities for public engagement. So my recommendation to the board would be that at your next meeting, you add an item to the agenda to discuss the draft and provide any comments either from the board or allow the public. This would be a good opportunity for them to give their comments in person if they did not want to deliver it to me. So that's the other thing I forgot to mention. The public comments should be going to me, Maggie at rutlandrpc.org. And then assuming that the committee wants, or that the board wants to throw it to committee, we can have the following week for that, and then at the 11/18 meeting, get a general consensus from the board on whether you guys looked at the plan and you said, okay, we want to see X, Y, and Z though before we go ahead with this, or if you're comfortable with the risk definition, then giving informal approval to proceed with developing a strategy to address the risks that we outlined. So in December, We will reconvene a planning team. We will review and address any public comments that we received, and then we will move on to developing the strategy. Now, the strategy outlines practical, reasonable actions for the city to implement. And once we work through that process, it'll take a couple of months. We will kind of rinse and repeat. I'll be back in front of the board. I'll explain what we've done to date. We'll have another public comment period. And then we will submit it to Vermont Emergency Management. They will give it a look over and give us approval pending adoption. Once we have that green light from VEM, the board officially moves to adopt the plan. And then finally, the plan gets sent off to FEMA. They have 60 days to take a look at it and send the approval letter. So really a two-step process there, but I expect the end of the process to be in the April-May timeframe. So that's all I have. Are there any questions?
Questions from members of the board? I see none.
Motion to move the public safety this issue so we can start working on it.
Okay.
I'll second.
So we have a motion to refer this to public safety. It's been seconded. Any discussion or debate on the referral? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you. Next up, we have a request from Sean Graham to speak outside the rail. I do not see Mr. Graham.
Do not see him now.
Okay. Next, is there anyone else, a member of the public who wishes to speak? Step right up, and if you would just state your name and city or town of residence for the minutes.
Michael.
Okay.
My name is Carissa Burnell, and my city of residence is Rutland, and I'm here as the co-executive director of Rutland County Parent-Child Center, and I'm here on behalf of Rutland County Parent-Child Center. Ironically, I'm a little bit nervous, which is weird because this is the easiest thing I've done all day, so I'm not, but it's very important, which is why I'm feeling a little bit nervous. So I'm here today to request support from the city regarding an ADA ramp that I need built on my Chaplin Avenue property. We have a young man, we have multiple families that we serve who have disabilities, but most recently we have a young man who has multiple diagnoses. He also has cerebral palsy. He's 3 years old. We've been supporting the family since prior to his birth at RCPCC, and we will continue to support them through his growth. He most recently has been fitted and obtained a wheelchair, which was quite a process, and it happened much quicker than we anticipated, and we were not adequately prepared in terms of his classroom. I do have a contractor who is able to build a ramp, which I thought was going to be easy peasy lemon squeezy. Then I found out that there's sidewalks that come into play when we talk about ADA ramps, so that's really why I'm here today. In order to build the ADA ramp, I need a little bit of support with the sidewalk. I've been working with Ted for a number of months and trying to come up with some solutions around this. There are some maps and graphs in here which I'll allow Ted to talk to a little bit better so he can adequately describe the need better than I.
It's okay to be nervous. I've done this many times. I'm still nervous. So a couple of years ago, they came in under a different director and asked to do this. The board granted them permission with a few conditions that they replace several segments of sidewalk in front of the ramp. They were looking for about 1.5 feet is how far the ramp would project into the right-of-way, because the building's only 3.5 feet off the sidewalk. So you guys granted approval, and again, it was a long strip of sidewalk just so we could have 5 feet of sidewalk next to the ramp. Okay, we've got a new director. They don't have adequate funds. They did a lot of construction, exhausted the funds, so we were talking about options. What came to the top of my mind is the fact that we're putting out a bid to replace water main on Chaplin Avenue within the next week or two. And it would be my plan to replace the water main and then do a full streetscape the following year. Roadway, curb, sidewalks. The sidewalks on Chaplin Avenue are in horrendous condition. On either side of the street has connectivity to South Main Street. So it'd be my plan to at the very least go through sidewalk at least on one side of the street to get full connectivity. So I guess I was thinking maybe us working together, finalize a new plan, and just maybe lend them a little hand, put a little asphalt. You can see on one of the pictures, there's no green belt there. It's all paved over. You know, there's probably like an inch or two lip from the asphalt to the existing sidewalk. Maybe we could come in and just put a little asphalt there to make sure that the area is passable, and then rip the whole street apart and do it right afterwards. But just in an effort to try to get this young man access to the building for services.
Alderwoman McClure?
Motion to move the matter to Department of Public Works Committee for further discussion amongst the board.
Okay. So there's a
I'll
motion.
second for debate.
There's a motion to refer this to the Public Works Committee. It's been seconded. Discussion or debate? Alderwoman
So
Davis?
I guess that's the process that, does this need to go to committee and be discussed, or is this something that you can just put in your plan as you reconfigure Chaplin Avenue?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's probably more of a sense of urgency.
Okay.
The contractor was looking to construct something this season.
Okay.
So I'd be a little concerned about the delay from going to committee, coming back to the board,
Right.
things like that, but that's just my opinion.
Alderman Heck?
Yeah, that was my question, Ted, in regards, the season is coming to an end here for any kind of cement work or asphalt work and those kind of things, and not completely sure, what it is, but I think if we could try and take this up this evening and allow these folks to kind of move forward in regards, I think it would probably be best. That's just my opinion.
Alderman Gillum?
I was just going to suggest if the Alderman would take her motion back, and then we will suspend the rules after that.
Absolutely.
So move to suspend the rules to take the matter up tonight.
Second.
All right, so the motion has been withdrawn by Alderwoman McClure, and Alderman Gillum's made a motion to suspend the rules and take the matter up tonight. It's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
And so the motion would be,
To permit the Rutland County Parent-Child Center to construct an ADA ramp within the city right-of-way, pending final approval by the Public Works Commissioner.
Second.
And that was pending final approval by?
Public Works
Public
Commissioner.
Works Commissioner.
Gotcha. All right, so we have a motion to permit the Rutland County Parent-Child Center to construct an ADA ramp within the city right-of-way pending final approval of the Public Works Commissioner. It's been seconded. Any debate on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Wish I would move that quick all the time.
Are there other members of the public who wish to address the board on matters not on our agenda?
Hi, friends. I'm Karen McCalla. This is Scott McCalla. He came with me. We are here to ask the board to consider removing the 10 Commandments monument that is in Main Street Park as part or as a convenience for some of the stuff that's already happening there. And the reason I'm asking this is because first I noticed that it's inside the fence that's sort of delineating where the new path should go. I've wanted that monument to not be in the park for a really long time, but for years it had big bushes around it, and I never even knew it was there, and that was great. But now it's pretty obvious, and I think that that monument might be better served on an equally visible part of Route 7 that doesn't belong to the city. And my recommendation would be perhaps that get referred to the rec committee, ? Or anything else you'd like to do. I have no idea.
All right, what is the pleasure of the board? Alderwoman McClure.
Motion to refer to the Recreation Committee for further discussion.
Second. All right, so we have a motion to refer to the rec committee. It's been seconded. Any discussion or debate on the referral? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Can we do that again?
Okay. Can we do a show of hands? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion fails. Thank you. Are there other members of the public here to address the board on matters not on the agenda? Mr. Jepson, step right up.
Etcheson from Rutland City. I want to reassure the Board of Aldermen I'm not here to ask for anything tonight. Normally I am,
Move to
but
deny.
I'm here until later. I'm here tonight actually to thank you for your support in a bunch of different ways. First of all, the Whoopie Pie Festival. 1,187 pounds of whoopie pie that was devoured by many, many hundreds of people. Thank you for your support of that. But I especially wanted to shout out, and once you start thanking people, you miss people. So I'm only going to thank you folks and the Department of Public Works tonight. Had it not been for the Department of Public Works, it would not have gone off as well as it did. They helped us with power. They helped us with everything we needed to get set up and take down. And so we want to thank them for the hours that they spent with us. Also, wanted to thank you for your support of the Regional Marketing Initiative. We just this last 2 weekends ago entertained 5 different families that came to us from Texas, Illinois, the state of Washington, Massachusetts, and Virginia. We're hoping that all of them will be moving here. And we entertained the best we could, and they seemed to have a great time. So we have 2 different weekend getaway programs, one in the fall and one in the winter time, and we will be inviting more families to come. Now, will those 5 families move here? We're not sure. But we got in front of 800,000 people with our social media campaign. And so now we have a whole lot of people that we can get in front of now to continue to get the word out about Rutland County. So thank you for your support of the Regional Marketing Initiative. And now my advertising for the night. If you have nothing else to do Wednesday night, come to the Cedar annual meeting, 5 to 7 at the Paramount Theater. You will have an opportunity to see our showcase pitch event where we have 4 different businesses that will be pitching. One will win a $5,000 check that you folks, as the public, will pick, a check donated to the cause by East Rise Credit Union, and then there will be packages of up to $20,000 of support in the Hub Co-works, which you have helped to create. And so if you have nothing else to do Wednesday night, stop by from 5 to 7 at the Paramount Theater. Great food, and it should be a good time. Thank you for your continued support.
Alderman Gillum?
Do we need to sign up?
You do not need to sign up. You just show up. Yep. It'll see 800 people, of which there are about 30 in here. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there other members of the public who wish to address the board on items not on our agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to communications from the mayor.
Wonderful. Good evening, everyone. I will start by asking the board to untable the appointment for Lori Arner for the RRA and circulate ballot box.
So moved.
All right, so we have a motion to untable the nomination of Lori Arner to the Rutland Redevelopment Authority Board of Directors. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
I move to circulate the ballot box.
And we have a motion to circulate the ballot box. It has been seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Wonderful. Thank you. And while that ballot box is circulating, I'll move on to this. Several weeks ago, within a 48-hour period, I had 4 people reach out to me about this particular person and an action that was taken to help save a life. This person is Daisy Moore. Daisy is an employee of the Regional Ambulance Service. And I'm going to read a proclamation that should hopefully describe what happened, and then maybe you can come up and say a few words. No, you don't want to? All right, we'll have Daisy maybe come up and say a few words if she wants. Daisy Moore, a dedicated critical care paramedic with Regional Ambulance Service, has constantly demonstrated exceptional skill, compassion, and commitment to the well-being of our community. And whereas Daisy's exemplary service record includes over 2 years with Regional Ambulance Service and 9 years as a certified paramedic, including service in the Vermont National Guard, and whereas Daisy's commitment to excellence in her profession is evident in her recent recognition as a recipient of the prestigious American Ambulance Association's Star of Life Award in 2023. And whereas Daisy Moore went above and beyond the call of duty, utilizing her specialized training and unwavering compassion to successfully de-escalate a behavioral emergency and prevent a self-harm incident, thereby saving a precious human life. And whereas Daisy's heroic actions exemplify the highest ideals of public service and reflect the values of pride, proficiency, and professionalism upheld by the Regional Ambulance Service. Now therefore, I, Michael P. Dunges, Mayor of the City of Rutland, Vermont, do hereby offer the city's gratitude to Daisy for her outstanding service to our community and her unwavering dedication to saving lives, her actions serving as an inspiration to us all, and we commend her for her bravery and commitment to the well-being of our citizens. Thank you very much, Daisy. So we'll get you a nice stamped copy of this proclamation. What I do want to add is that, you know, we talk about we think about regional ambulance saving lives, and we think about the physical body all the time. We think about the idea that, you know, someone's bleeding or they have heart failure, for example, or maybe there's something traumatic that has happened physically, but we don't always think about the mental health aspects. And in this particular case, the training that went into play to save this person's life, maybe in a different way than we normally think about, was not only welcomed in our community, but is praised. And thank you very much for the effort that you put in, and we appreciate you being part of our community and helping to save those lives. Did you want to say anything? No? Okay. Thank you very much, Dave.
Mr. President, she should stand up so the people at home know who she is.
That would be great. Thank you, Alderman Gillum.
You're welcome.
Just a second, the nomination of Lori Arner to the RRA Board of Commissioners passes 9 yes, 0 no.
Congratulations, Lori. Okay. Moving on. So I wanted to make a quick announcement. Where's Andrew? He's hiding behind me. He's hiding behind me. So I am sad to announce that Andrew, at the end of last week, gave me his notice. Andrew is going to be moving down to Springfield, Massachusetts. Do you want to talk about it? Yeah, you spend a minute and just that you'll do a better job than I will.
So on last Thursday, I gave my notice. So I will be moving down to Springfield, Massachusetts to serve as their director of community planning. So my last day will be November 1st, but I am happy to lend any assistance afterwards if need be. So thank you.
Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Good luck to you.
And thank you for letting me oversee the planning and zoning department. So.
Thank you, Andrew. All right, one more item for applause, and then I'm sure we'll go back to the regular report. I did want to announce that our city attorney, Megan LaChance, was recently awarded the Rising Star Award. And this is, for those of you who don't know, we have a couple of Rising Stars in this room, I think, and Megan is our most recent Rising Star, so I just want to say congratulations. Just quick update. So the Rutland delegation made it to Japan and back. Some of us needed a little extra rest, more than others. How you feeling, Chief? Good? Okay. It was a fantastic time. I will say that Hanamaki and Ishidori did a wonderful job of welcoming us, talked about all of the history. We got to open a time capsule and see some of the previous events that had happened between the two cities. We celebrated the 35th anniversary, although it was truly the 38th because the 35th didn't happen during COVID. So it is our duty and responsibility now to not only welcome them to Rutland for the 40th, but make sure we show them as good a time, if not better. So we've got some ideas. We'll put together a committee here in the next few months and start, even though it's 2 years away, it does come up quick. So I'd love to have a couple of people volunteer for that committee. So as we start working on that, I'll put that out there. And if you want to throw your name in the ring, that would be great. We had the Creek Path ribbon cutting. I will be totally honest on this, outside of utilizing the creek path, I have very little personal involvement in the project up to this point. We did a lot with this most recent version, supporting the creek path process through the city, and DPW did, and Parks and Rec did a lot of the work. But there has been an endless amount of people, volunteers, and work from our city departments on this. So I just wanted to say congratulations for getting the segment done, getting the bridge open, and the creek path to where it is. We have segment 5 to work on. It is the last segment. It will take it from where it is now to the Rutland Rec Center, Recreation Community Center. It will be a topic of discussion. I do want to make mention that there is a grant awarded from the state that if we do not get something done by 2028, we have to pay back. So we have a motivator to make sure we get this creek path done. Yes, creek path done. With the announcement of Walmart relocating, we have two things that we need to do. One, we need to send the topic to committee for discussion. So I'd like to send the topic of the Rutland Downtown Plaza space and the relocation of Walmart to Community Economic Development Committee.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to refer the topic of the Rutland Downtown Plaza and Walmart relocation to the Community and Economic Development Committee. It's been seconded. Any discussion or debate? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Awesome. And the second piece is we're starting a small task force on the plaza of community members, interested citizens, and I asked Alderman Gillum if he'd be on it just because he was part of the last process as well. If you're interested in it, I know we can't have a quorum for the board, but if you're a board member and you're also interested in it, let me know and we can figure out how to get that to happen. But this task force is basically just going to start to look at what does this mean for the transition as far as getting that space filled once Walmart moves. That's the mission of the task force. So what are the options available? What's the process for working with the landowner? What's the process for reaching out? I've had a couple people say, is it appropriate for the city to play a role in trying to get that space filled? And I would say absolutely yes. The city played a huge role along with the RA in getting Walmart in downtown in the first place. So I think there's a lot of conversation to be had there. We'll put that task force together. Our first meeting, I believe, is going to be, I thought I put it on here, but I guess I didn't, on the 4th. Is that October 4th? And I'll try to keep the board as updated as possible via email and through these meetings. Any questions on that? Awesome. On last week, we announced a new program called Roofs Over Rutland. Roofs Over Rutland is a collaboration between the State Treasurer's Office, Heritage Family Credit Union, and the City of Rutland. Just to be totally clear, all of the financial responsibility falls between the Treasurer's Office and Heritage Family Credit Union. However, the city is part of this process, and the idea behind this program is that we want to develop more housing in Rutland. There's plenty of programs to develop affordable housing in Rutland, and right now there's 3 projects going on that are being run out of Rutland Housing Trust. So in order to develop market rate housing, we need to do something creative. So Heritage Family applied to the 10% in Vermont program for $8 million worth of loan. This is a year and a half worth of discussion and work that has brought us to this point. The Treasurer's Office has awarded that $8 million in the form of a 1% interest loan, which Heritage will then loan out at 3.5% interest for 5 years, amortized over 25 years, so it's a good deal. You still get a good pay rate on it. And the idea behind it is to create new units. So all of these loans will be focused on bringing either offline old units online or putting new units online in the city of Rutland. So the first $3 million tranche is for sub 4 units, so 1 to 4 unit buildings. The other $5 million of this is for 5+ unit buildings. So far, in the 4 days, including the weekend, 5 days that the program has been open, there's already been 7 applications to the program, and we're expecting there's a path to $2.3 million worth of loans to be lent out within the next 30 to 60 to 90 days, depending on closing time. So the program's already working, which is fantastic. We encourage people to go to the Heritage website. There's an application on there, and they can go right to it and fill that out, and it'll run through the process.
Alderwoman Davis?
Just one quick question. Who vets the application?
So the way that it works is there's the vetting process, it's all financially on Heritage. There is a process where the applications will come to myself and the executive director of the RRA. And there's three things that we're looking at, and only three things. One, is the candidate in good standing with the city of Rutland? Are they paid up on their water bills, sewer bills, and taxes, right? Two, is the project within the borders of the city of Rutland? And three, does it create a new unit? That's it. So it's a very, very simple process. The reason we included the RA executive director is we wanted to make sure that the mayor, whether it was myself or someone else, forever how long this program runs, check those boxes, and the RA is validating that those boxes are checked. That's it. Just a check and balance to make sure there's two parties in the process. Any other questions on that?
Alderman McCann?
Just to clarify, you said that the responsibility is between the credit union and the treasurer's office. That's the state treasurer, not the city treasurer.
Yes, thank you.
The city is not involved in this finance
The
at all.
state of Vermont's treasurer's office. It's the thank you very much for the clarification, John. Any other questions on that? Awesome. Almost done. So I did want to make a comment with the election coming up very quickly. There are 600 plus undelivered ballots sitting in the clerk's office. So the state, for those of you who don't know, mailed ballots to every single registered voter in the state of Vermont. 600 of those have been returned to the treasurer's office for because they can't be delivered. So that's 600 people that have moved out of apartments, the address has changed, whatever the case may be. If you did not receive your mail-in ballot and you are a registered voter in the city of Rutland and you have moved or just for some reason didn't get it, you are welcome to stop by the clerk's office to pick up that ballot. If not, you can still vote in the election in November. You just show up and there's a process for that. Okay, and I have two committee referrals, two things I would like to be referred to committee. Just discussions that had come up this morning in our department head meeting. There's conversation of a truck parade coming through Rutland, as well as some celebratory asks that may happen based on tournaments being one. Police chief, myself, the fire chief, we're all, in the past, this is something Rutland used to do. It stopped over time, and we want to put that in committee for discussion to see if that's something that Rutland wants to do again, is support like the police and fire escorts through the city for those celebratory activities. So with that, I'd like to refer that to the Public Safety Committee.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to refer this matter to the Public Safety Committee. It's been seconded. Any discussion on the referral? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Great. And then another discussion that came up is there are some food truck vendors that would like to regularly park in certain locations. And although that may not be the right solution to have, a food truck vendor in one spot every day on city property, I do think that there's a real advantage to having food trucks circulate through different city properties over a period of a week or 2 weeks or whatever it happens to be on a rotational schedule. I think that is probably a broader discussion than just rec. I don't want to send it to rec. They had been talking to Kim because some of those locations were parks, but I do think that this one could probably go to general for the broader discussion, or community economic development. It's up to the board. But the discussion would be food truck operation on city properties to one of those two committees.
So moved to the Community and Economic Development Committee.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to refer food truck
So
operation
says the chair of general.
on city property to the Community and Economic Development Committee. It's been seconded. Alderman Heck?
I don't have a problem with it going to committee and stuff, but I do believe that the recreation superintendent is the ultimate authority of what takes place within our city parks, as far as that goes. So the discussion can be had, but I think if Kim wants it, that's fine. If Kim doesn't want them, I think she's the ultimate decision maker on that.
I think that's a good point. I think we want to have the discussion both for parks and parking spots, right? There are some lots that may be usable for food trucks as well, so we have the broader discussion. Kim, did you want to speak to that?
Alderman Heck, you're right. However, when it's a vendor that wants to do it every day, I don't feel like it's my responsibility or I have the say to say one certain vendor can monopolize one park every day. So I think we 100% allow that to happen on special events. As long as they have a peddler's license, I usually will talk to Tracy to make sure that's all lined up. But we are getting requests for every day. And I do think it's a great idea, but we need to figure out a way that it's fair to all businesses, and how do we communicate that?
All right, so the motion to refer to Community and Economic Development is on the floor. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
That is it for me. Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Moving on to consideration of special event permit requests. We have an application for the Hallow-Rockin-Ween to be held on October 31st. A copy of the application is on pages 37 to 38 of your packet. And someone is here to speak to the permit application. Welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me again. My name is Lindsay Etcheson. I am just a community enthusiast, really, at this point. I love Rutland, and I really strive to build teams to help our families just experience fun and safe activities. So last year, we threw off a Hallow-Rockin-Ween event, and we were able to work with the city to get the street of Chestnut Avenue closed down, where it was barricaded from William Street and at Library Avenue. Those barricades did allow for a very fun and safe environment for families. In the area, there's over 6,000 people that can come on foot, and so some apprehensions that we had last year about parking and different things like that, they were not a problem. A lot of people came on foot, biked over, different things like that. And we were just one of maybe multiple stops that families took for trick-or-treating on Halloween. So this year I've leaned heavily into the neighborhood of Chestnut Avenue. Neighbors are just wowing me left and right. They've been purchasing candy, and today somebody purchased 1,000 hot dogs to help feed the community that comes, which is just amazing. So we are requesting that the street be closed off again for the hours of 4 to 8 p.m. on Halloween night itself, which is October the 31st. It's a Thursday evening. I know last year I had worked with the fire department a little bit, and we had a lane for emergency vehicles in case one would need to come by. We did not have the need for an emergency vehicle to come by, but we understand kind of the parameters now of how to set up the event to be mindful of that as well. So last year we calculated well over 2,000 people in attendance at the event. So we had thousands of pounds of candy that we handed out, and we are well on our way to doing that again this year. I just have to give a huge shout out to the Rutland community and to the Chestnut Avenue neighbors. This would not happen without the generosity and the support of the community. So, questions about the event?
Alderwoman Tadia?
Thank you for putting on this event, and I would make a motion to approve the special...
Suspend?
Motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to suspend the rules and take the matter up tonight. It's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And now I would make a motion to approve the Hallow-Rockin-Ween event on October 31st from 4 p.m. till 8 p.m. and the closure of Chestnut Avenue.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the permit application. It has been seconded. Any discussion? Alderwoman McClure.
I would just like to say thank you to you and the Chestnut Avenue community and One Church for all of the work that you put in. I was one of the many attendees last year. The event was gorgeous, the food was great, the live music was on point, but possibly my favorite part were the patio heaters that you painstakingly lined up the center of the street to keep everybody warm. That was an amazing touch, and I can't wait to see what you guys bring to the table this year.
Thank you very much. We're excited.
Alderman Gillen?
I'm not against the permit at all, not at all, but I do have an issue with parking.
Okay.
I would like to see you do pre-advance where people can park, where the parking lots are, like the school, and maybe the old CV building, I don't know what it's called now. So it's not putting a lot of hardship on the neighborhood.
Okay.
That people might not want parking in front of their house or whatever.
Yeah.
So if you would preempt that and get the information out where people can park, somehow maybe get something in the Rutland Herald.
Yeah, definitely, and I'd be very open to suggestions on where to park. I am myself an employee of Rutland Intermediate School through the school district. I have spoken with the superintendent on numerous times. It's hard to direct people to that, but they don't turn them away. So it's kind of like a little bit of a give and take, but definitely we're open to more areas for parking and.
Cottage Street parking lot, there is some parking.
There are some.
You just gotta tell them where it is, that's all.
Okay, definitely. I can definitely work on that and try to get a crew in to help with that as well.
All right, seeing nothing further, the motion to approve is on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Awesome. You're all welcome. Halloween night, 4 to 8.
Next, we're moving to reports and letters from department heads and officials. First up, we have Ed Bove from the Rutland Redevelopment Authority with a presentation by Stephanie Clarke from White and Burke on the TIF District Plan Review and LOI submission. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good evening. We're back, as promised, at the Community and Economic Development Committee meeting on September 25th. And really, really thrilled to be here tonight. We're at a milestone for TIF. I'm not going to steal Stephanie's thunder, but this is a culmination of the TIF working group. We're members in this room who are part of that, and years worth of effort to get here. Andrew played a huge part in that as well, and I just want to, before I give the mic up, I just want to say that it's been amazing working with you over the last 2 years. So thank you for everything you've done, and showing me the ropes in a lot of ways as well. So without further ado, Stephanie Clarke from White and Burke, who's been the consultant helping us with the project, and we'll turn it over to her now. We can get everything working.
It's really hard to go after Hallow-Rockin-Ween. Wait, what I get it? What is it? Hallow-Rockin-Ween. I love it, and I was here for the Whoopie Pie Festival. I live up in Shelburne, and was a big fan of that, and I'm sad I won't be here for that party. It sounds awesome. How's our tech? What are we doing? Is it look like it works? Super. Hey. Great.
There you are.
We're here. So, again, my name is Stephanie Clarke. I am your consultant, the city's consultant from White and Burke Real Estate Advisors. And I have been working with, our firm has been working with the city for a number of years on the feasibility of a TIF district as well as economic development efforts in general. But I've been involved in the last year or so, and I've done lots of TIF work around the state. So I really love coming into communities and learning about them, but I already had a huge partiality for Rutland anyway, so then I got the long straw and was able to come and start doing this work within the last year. So I met with the Community Economic Development Committee in the last month I guess it was, and was able to hear some feedback on this. So it's really nice to be able to present this to the full board tonight. But as Ed mentioned, we wouldn't be here if not for the working group, and so you've got lots of working group people here who've contributed as well. And I will miss Andrew so much. So it's been a joy to work with him. So here's what I'm proposing to talk about, and I'm going to try to keep this as truncated as I can while still giving it the weight that it deserves, because this is an important initiative, and this is your process. This is your district. I'm here for you, and so my asks tonight are really just to help shepherd this process forward. Our process tonight, I'm going to talk about the goals that the city has put forward. This working group has developed and then has been endorsed, I would say, maybe by the Community Economic Development Committee who heard it and had no feedback on those goals. But if there's more feedback, let's get to that. I'm going to explain what TIF is, because that is going to be a perennial question and topic that we're going to come back to multiple times, because this is a tool that's going to last a long time. We're going to talk about the timeline. I'm going to talk to you about what the ask is. I'm going to go over what you saw in your packet, which is the TIF District Plan Overview, which is a very dense but important, meaty document that has been drafted by your team. And then talk about next steps before I open it up for questions. I'm not going to ask you if that's okay. We're just going to keep going. So here are the goals. The city has developed these goals. The team has developed these goals. What is the goal of doing a TIF district is not a goal in and of itself. A TIF district is a tool to get to these goals. Increasing your tax base. The name of the game is housing. That's what we want, and the city has identified as priority. So this is one of those tools. Removing barriers, contamination, removing blight. So these are why we're doing this tonight. So let me explain what is a TIF district and what is TIF the tool. So I'm going to say this every time you see me. You're also going to get real tired of seeing me. Everybody I work with is like, becomes on, you know, a first name basis, but I'm going to say this every single time. TIF is an economic development tool that you keep in your toolbox as a city to help revitalize and catalyze development projects, private development projects. And how do we do that? By taking away infrastructure barriers. And the financing mechanism is that the incremental new property taxes generated by that development help repay the debt service on the infrastructure. So that's why it's a loop. You can see the municipal bond is passed. You invest in the public infrastructure, publicly owned assets that help then spark the private development, that then pay their increased taxes like they would whenever they do a redevelopment project. And now those incremental taxes go to pay down the municipal bond. Well, why do we need a whole big thing for this? The reason is because you actually retain a portion of not just the municipal incremental taxes, but also the state incremental taxes. We'll get to that in a moment. But basically, when we think about TIF, we want to think about a long-term investment. There's three time windows in this. We kind of time travel in TIF. You have 10 years, if you start a district, you have 10 years to incur debt. So that means 10 years to do your infrastructure projects. You have 20 years from the time you first incur debt to retain increment. So you have 20 years of incremental value being created within your district, and that is going to then go pay down all the debt service on any infrastructure you've started. The district ends when all your debt is repaid. That kind of depends on how long if you've done 20 versus a 30-year bond. Again, what I want to emphasize in this is that but for the city putting in this effort and putting in the investment to taking away a barrier, this development isn't happening. This is new projects that have been long stalled that aren't going to happen unless you, the city, invest in your infrastructure. So here's another visual representation of how TIF works. You have what's called the original taxable value. That is the properties within the district today are going to continue paying their taxes as they do. Those are going to continue to go to the municipality and to the state as they do today. That never changes. You can see in the middle bar, that middle bar is where they go today. The blue is going to the municipal general fund. The green is to the state education fund. And then in this middle section, during the life of the TIF, you see those two sections don't change. They continue to go. But anything new, that bracket up above, is going to get split differently. That's anything new that wouldn't be created otherwise. A portion, 70% of the education fund taxes go to your TIF fund, and 85% of municipal taxes go to the TIF fund. The 30% and the 15% go to the education fund and the general fund, respectively. The point is that after, in that third bar, the important piece is that after your debt is retired, your district is over, now you've grown your grand list by that much. So you had a before and an after. And there are lots of examples around the state where you can see this. This is the way the city can grow its own tax base. So the reason we have to sit here today and do a lot of process and talking is because there is a creation process administered by the state. Your municipality has to participate. So the first step is getting a master TIF district created. That's what we're here for today. We're creating a district. That district has to be accepted and approved by the Board of Aldermen, and then we take it to the Vermont Economic Progress Council, VEPC, VEPC, and that body then has to review and approve that as well for your master TIF determination. Then, when you finally do want to start your very first TIF project, got to go do it again. You come back to your board of the city staff that you've enlisted with this job is going to come back to the Board of Aldermen with the first what's called phase filing and present the project that you want to do, the very first project, some sort of infrastructure that's going to then incentivize a private development. Then it has to go back to VEPC, the state, to review it again. And then the public votes. So really important to remember, your voters, your constituents, will get a say of how you invest in this public infrastructure. There has to be a citywide vote to say, yes, we will authorize a TIF bond that is backed by this incremental new tax revenue, which is not a new tax rate and does not increase taxes on any particular tax owner or taxpayer, because it is just when somebody redevelops their property, they pay more taxes if there's higher value. That's how it works. But that's going to happen down the line, not right now. So here's our timeline. It's a long timeline. All those steps I just talked about, we're not breaking ground on the first project till spring 2026 at the earliest. That's if the projects go forward and all the agreements happen. So we'll start in October right now. We're here. Tonight I have presented in the packet a letter of intent to apply to the state. That's a required step. It just gives the state a heads up. It's non-binding. It doesn't require that we follow exactly what was in the TIF district plan drafted today. We can change that before January, but I'm proposing that we submit our application in January, and we need to give them 60 days heads notice. So if you authorize the signature of that tonight, we'll submit that here in the next week sometime, or if we need to meet again, we can do that. My proposal is, and my recommendation to the city is to have the Board of Aldermen review this application, review the TIF district plan, take any time you need, have additional meetings if you need to collect more public input, do it, but don't vote on the TIF district plan until January. And the reason for that is because statute says that when the Board of Aldermen votes on just this TIF district plan, your district is created. But you don't have any authorization to actually start because the state hasn't authorized it yet. It's a flaw in the statute. We're proposing legislative change on that this session. But that means that it takes effect in the calendar year. So we don't want to lose time. So we're suggesting you vote on it in January so that it authorizes it officially in April 1st, 2025, not April 1st, 2024. So you don't lose a year of potential debt incurment or investment. Sorry that that's a lot. It's a mouthful. If there's questions on that, I can go back to it. I'm trying to be a little bit concise. So if that gets adopted in January, then we would submit our full application to the state, which is a bigger application than just the TIF district plan. There's other exhibits. They require a period of time before they meet on it, and then the meeting would be, their first meeting would, there'd be meetings over the course of basically the spring, January through April, we're assuming. The state would review it, they come to Rutland, they see Rutland, then we meet in Montpelier. During that time, if we have a project ready to go, and right now we're having some progress on at least one project, we want to go concurrent and come back to the Board of Aldermen with that first phase filing so that we're at the ready. So we'd bring that first phase filing back in the spring, everybody would review it here, and then as soon as our master TIF district is created by VEPSI, then we can submit our phase filing to VEPSI and say, thanks for the district, and here's our first application, real quick. Because there's the opportunity to then do a bond vote as soon as possible. It would have to be a special election next year, I suppose, because it's not election year. But you do a special election for a bond vote if you're ready, if there's a plan. Again, I'm trying to show what the fastest track is. And then you can incur your first debt in that winter bond pool of next year, which is 25-26, to be able to break ground in 26. That's the fastest it can go. It may be slower. You may not have a project totally ready. That's just the reality, but I wanted to show you where we're going. So what's the ask tonight, the Board of Aldermen? I have been giving you lots of exhibits and lots of paperwork here, but the ask tonight is simply to authorize the signature of the letter of intent to VEPSI. That's the number one ask. I'm also asking for input on the TIF district plan. We've developed this with a big committee, with a lot of input, with the working group. We've talked with local property owners. There's a lot of projects identified. I'm going to go through some of those in a moment. But if you have input, we want to hear it because this is the time to bake that in. I don't care if there's a misplaced comma, tell me, I'll hear it. What is not being asked is any kind of vote on debt. There's no debt being incurred, there's no talk of a tax rate change or anything. I just want to be crystal clear for the public. That's not what's being asked. In terms of messaging, we do have a website, the RRA website. There is a web page devoted to TIF. It has an FAQ on it that's very helpful and descriptive. So if you hear of any of your constituents that are confused or concerned, please send them there first, and then they can contact Ed with any particular questions. We're going to get into the meat of the TIF district plan, and then I'm going to let you go. But basically, the TIF district plan has three central pieces. It is a narrative, it is a ridiculously big workbook of tables, spreadsheets, and then a few maps. And the point of this is not to create a roadmap. It is not telling the city where it needs to go. It is not telling any property owners what to do with their property. It is simply a planning conceptualization exercise to see if there's viability here. There are districts, and I've done this for since 2010, and there have been districts that I've gone to, communities I've gone to evaluate the feasibility, and I've said, no, you don't have the scale, you don't have the viability, you don't have the feasibility here to make this worth it or work at all. So we do this so that we understand what are all the possibilities. Rutland is prime for this tool. This is a wonderful tool for the city of Rutland. There's a lot of good energy in Rutland right now that makes this tool catalytic. It tips over the issues that these developers have been fighting against, mainly infrastructure. The eligible types of infrastructure, there are limited, but contamination, remediation, site prep and demolition, utility work, streetscape work, access and transportation, community public facilities. These are huge infrastructure barriers that this tool can handle. So the narrative lays it out, the tables run out the financial feasibility, the maps show you where it goes. Here's one map. Hard to see probably on the monitor, but the big black outline on the outside, the full city of Rutland. The tiny yellow piece in the middle is our TIF district. So out of your, 6,800 roughly parcels, we're looking at about 300, is that right, 390 of parcels in this district. So it's a small percentage. It's a little over 5% of the land area and 3% of your value within this district. It's a small district. You've got to keep them small for specific purposes, regulatory and just good practice. So as we get closer, this map is important. It goes with a legend. So I'm only doing this for graphic representation, but when you look in your materials or you look on the website, it goes with a legend that identifies which projects we are putting in this plan. Again, not a roadmap, more of a menu. This gives the team, the city team, RRA, the mayor's office, CEDAR, a chance to go out and go to these property owners and say, how can we help? What is your barrier? Tell me. And this is what we think you have a problem with. Do you have contamination? Do you have access issues? If we were to solve those, can you do something 100 units of housing here? That's the kind of work you want to do. So they started with me giving me, I said, give me everything you got. They gave me over 30 parcels where they said 30 projects could happen. These are all the different sites that we have trouble with. We whittled it down to 11. And I said, that's the right size for a 10-year window. You only have 10 years to incur the debt. So I'm trying to be realistic. I like their ambition. So we identify those projects. We identify the infrastructure barriers. What we get is this TIF district plan. It's again a menu so that when we come back to the state, we say, hey, we did that project. Here's what we're here for. And they say, great, it's consistent. It meets the statutory requirements. 11 private projects. The concepts for them include mostly housing, some associated retail, and of course the hotel. Could they be market rate? Could they be affordable houses? We don't know. We conceptualized a mix in this plan, but again, it's less of a plan as it is really a vision. And then those 11 projects are being catalyzed by 8 public infrastructure projects. So if we can solve, the list is here, utilities, brownfield remediation, transportation issues. For these sites, these 11 projects could happen. That's basically what this is saying over a long period of time. So again, the highlights of the plan, I would say my favorite parts, 385 housing units over 7 years. That's a realistic concept that's been developed here among all of these properties. Will it happen like that? No, none of us have a crystal ball. None of us have a magic wand, but could it be more? Maybe, but the idea is there is potential here. And the total amount for those 8 infrastructure projects is a debt principal of almost 17 million in infrastructure projects that could generate over $63 million of new property value, incremental property value within the city. That's a big number. That's a great ROI. I would definitely take that ROI. As I mentioned, there's a portion of the new taxes that do continue to go, that do go to the general fund and do go to the state. And over 20 years, that would generate an additional $3 million for the general fund. And that usually helps to offset any additional maintenance costs of any kind of new infrastructure, or offsets some other, it can kind of help soften it a little bit. But the point is you have a full district, and so any other development that happens as a result of all these good things is also going into that TIF fund. And then 5.6 million over the 20 years goes to the state. Okay, we're getting close to the end. This is what I want to make very clear. I've done this a long time, and this question comes up a lot, and it's totally valid, and I asked it when I lived in the city of Burlington, and Burlington did its TIF district. What's the risk to me as a taxpayer? What's the risk to you as the aldermen who are voting on this? It is a bit of a tiny risk, only because you are the ones building the infrastructure. But you build infrastructure anyway. You do this. These are public assets. They have to be publicly owned, with the exception of brownfield contamination, which resides on other people's property. But the whole entire program is built to help mitigate risk. The State of Vermont program is built to mitigate risk because there have been other places in the country where it's not gone well. The state learned from that and has a very thorough program with a lot of checks and balances. The city also doesn't have to use this district. The city can just let the tool sit there, and then if they don't use it, they can say, we don't need it anymore. Montpelier, Bennington both did that, and they turned it back in without ever incurring any debt. The most important thing, I think, that protects the city and protects the taxpayers is what's called a development agreement. These are public-private partnerships. The city invests in the infrastructure, the public part, the private developer builds their project. It's a partnership. You create a development agreement. It's a legal binding instrument that runs with the land. And what that means is it says they will be required to cover a minimum taxable value that will cover or help cover, depending on how the city structures their debt service. And that's what protects the bond vote from ever becoming a general obligation bond. So it's a mitigated risk. I'm going to go back to this slide because I think it's the most important slide of my entire deck. What are the city's goals here? This is not a tool you're adopting for just adopting's sake. It is to get you to where you want to be, which is more housing, more vibrancy, less blight, more investment from outside and private developers. Our immediate next steps, pretty clear. I've already gone over it. Let's get that LOI submitted. Any revisions you have to the TIF district plan after you've read it, and get feedback. I don't know the protocol, how you get that feedback to us, but get it to us. And then decide if you want another meeting to educate the public. Happy to come back and do more meetings or come in via Zoom. And then meet again in January is my recommendation. That is all I got.
Questions from the board? Alderwoman Davis.
So, thank you. Fine. So I asked a number of questions in Honest Committee, and I had one more that I thought of after the fact.
Great.
And that was how will the city's going to be going through a citywide reappraisal?
Yes.
How, if any, will that affect the TIF district?
Yep, that's a really good question. So a couple answers. First answer is going to be the most thorough answer to that is going to be in our FAQ very soon, because what we want to do is get very clear on how much there's going to be impact. So part of my answer is going to say stay tuned. But the short answer is the TIF district does affect the reappraisal in one way, which means the tax rate goes down. When you do a reappraisal, the tax rate will inevitably go down because all of the value that is going up is going to generate the taxes. It has to generate the same taxes that it does today, correct? So you have a balance there with the amount with your budget today or thereabouts. So that inevitably causes, if you've got a big increase in your value, it brings down the tax rate. Because of the way the taxes get redistributed in a TIF district, and because the downtown where the TIF district is the center of your commercial development, it might not go down, and might is the important word, I don't know the numbers yet, might go down a little less than it would otherwise without a TIF district. That's the short answer. I'd like to be more descriptive, and I think the important thing is to look at the real math when we have it in the text. Yeah.
So, Alderwoman Taddeo, do you wish to read your committee report?
Sure, yeah. So this meeting happened Wednesday, September 24th, and the topic was the formation of a TIF district in Rutland. Committee members present were myself, Alderwoman McClure, Alderman McCann, Alderwoman Davis. Others present were Mayor Dungus, President Talbot, Alderman Barbagallo, Alderman Gillum, Ed Bove, Lyle Jepson, Building and Zoning Administrator Sternisti, Hal Asante, Stephanie Clarke, Israel Mack, Ed Clarke, Treasurer Mary Markowski, Assessor Langlois, Representative Paul Clifford, and Gordon Turchillo from the Rutland Herald. The meeting was called to order at 5:30 p.m. Stephanie Clarke gave a presentation on how a tax increment finance district works. The benefits of creating a TIF district include increasing the tax base, creating housing, improving access and walkability, removing barriers to investment, catalyzing investment, reducing blight, revitalizing the community, and remediating contamination. The process includes creating a master TIF district that goes through the Board of Aldermen and Vermont Economic Progress Council, or VEPC, then eventually goes to the public for a bond vote. The goal is to have a master TIF approved next spring. The bond vote would take place in November 2025, where the city could call a special election since there's not a regularly scheduled election in November 2025. Sorry, I'm going over a lot of what Stephanie just already went over. A TIF district works by making investments in public infrastructure that benefit private developments. The city incurs the debt, but it's paid back by the taxes on the new development projects that are developed because the newly formed infrastructure makes it possible to create development projects. A good example of a TIF district in Rutland County is the TIF district in Killington that will facilitate building the new village at Killington Resort because Killington Town will replace the water infrastructure needed for a new village. The proposed Rutland TIF has a list of projects that could be included in the TIF. There are 11 private projects and 8 public infrastructure projects. These 11 private projects could develop 385 housing units over 7 years. They could also add an additional $3 million to the Rutland City General Fund over 20 years. One of the ways that the city mitigates its financial risks is that there needs to be a development agreement in hand with the developer before the infrastructure projects are built. Once we set the plan, the boundary cannot be edited or adjusted at a later date once the legislature approves the district. Alderwoman Davis inquired if there are risks to the taxpayer. Stephanie Clarke explained that the cash flow in the early years of development could be an issue, but the overall budget would not be a problem. The development agreements run with the land, so in case of new ownership, the project would continue. Alderman Gillum encouraged the board to support the TIF district because it will benefit the entire community. He pointed out that the neighbors on Center Street would greatly benefit from the investment in our public infrastructure. Lyle Jepson mentioned that once Killington had its TIF district, even more federal money became available. He said it's very likely the same thing will happen in Rutland City if we are able to establish a TIF district. Alderwoman McClure made a motion to recommend the Board of Aldermen sign the letter of intention to form the tax increment finance district, and the motion passed 4-0, and I so move.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to recommend to the board signing the letter of intention to form the TIF district. It's been seconded. Discussion or debate on the motion? Alderman Heck.
I support the district. I just am going through, and I appreciate Ed Bove spent a couple hours with me a couple weeks ago going through the TIF district. I see Lyle's here, Devin's here. Andrew in the back. I'm assuming if I ask them all their opinion on the TIF district, they're all going to stand up and wave, let's go. That's my understanding of this. I'm just trying to get an opinion of when I'm talking to the normal layperson out there and they ask what a TIF district is. I'd like to have the insight and the ability to actually give them a reasonable explanation of it, because I'm assuming that there could be some so-called pitfalls as far as that goes, the business owners, how the districting came into play and stuff. And I just wanted to ask how TIF works. You're stating to me that if I use this as an explanation to Joe Q public out there, this is exactly how a TIF districting works.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I should have mentioned we brought some materials today for the public, and they are on the website, or will be soon on the RRA website, because it is super complicated. I really appreciate bringing that up, because I just talked so much, and then hearing the minutes, I was like, oh, I didn't talk about that tonight, because I talked about that last time, because I could talk about this for 3 hours and not even make a dent, you know? And I thought I was going to be a ballerina when I grew up, and this is somehow what I do. But I will say that this little handout, definitely accurate. We've vetted it multiple times. And then the FAQ on the website has a 1 or 2 line response for what is TIF that I think can be recited to help somebody, it isn't easy to remember. And I think one thing that I would just say and caution anybody talking to your constituents about this is say it is not a new tax. They hear tax increment finance, they just hear tax. It's not a new tax. It is how taxes are diverted, how taxes are spent by the municipality. That's just one thing I'd advise.
Other questions? Alderman Gillum.
I just have a comment. Our time has come. I've heard it for 20 years now, being in this business. People, we need to clean the city up. We need to clean the city up. We got to get rid of all this blight. We've got to do all these things. Well, now it's come. Now it's here. It's on the table. Now it's time to move. It's time to pick the football up and move with it. This is a very important moment for Rutland. How it works, I can tell you how it works. Killington, they passed a $50 million water program up there to get the whole town with water. All of a sudden, you got new owners at Killington that just collected $160 million in cash and bought the mountain. You got somebody local there. They're on their way. They're also going to put another $30 million in there. If that water wasn't in place, that investment would not come. This is the same process we want to do here. We improve the infrastructure to attract contractors or developers to come in, and that's what we're trying to do, is attract investment. And I know the money's out there. We got to go get it. We got to put the tools in place. This is crucial that we vote on this tonight.
Alderwoman Davis.
Just a question of process. Do we have a copy of the letter of intent? Do we have anything that we're
think
actually seeing or signing? I didn't find it in the packet.
It was that link that I had sent out to the board. It's not in the materials that are on your desk, but it was in the link that was sent to the board last week.
Okay. Nope. Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, so the motion on the floor is to approve the letter of intent to apply for the TIF district. Any additional discussion or debate? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned at 6:26 p.m.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Ed. Thank you, Stephanie. Next up is Barbara Spalding from the Rutland Redevelopment Authority with a recommendation to approve a business incentive assistance program forgivable loan. This is on pages 44 to 63 of your packet. Sorry to make you wait so long.
Good evening. Jennifer Usher is applying for a $10,000 buyout forgivable loan to expand her business, Make It So, at 69 Center Street by leasing the space at 67 Center Street, formerly the Speakeasy Cafe. The expansion will allow the business to expand by creating a customer service area, dressing rooms, and add another seamstress. The application meets the criteria for the loan through $10,000 of personal investment. And the RRA board on October 8th voted to recommend to the aldermen approval of the $10,000 buyout forgivable loan to Make It So. And Jennifer, is here to answer any questions you might have.
Welcome.
Hi, everyone. As she just said, that is what I'm here to ask for. So if anyone has any questions for me, I'm happy to answer as best I can.
Alderman McCann.
Thanks. Can you just talk a little bit about the demand you've seen for this service over the last couple of years and how that supports the expansion?
I have had a significant increase in especially the bridal industry and weddings and brides needing wedding tailoring, alteration of what their wedding gowns and of their bridal parties, bridesmaids. And when COVID sort of initially happened, that kind of crashed the wedding industry here in Vermont, as you may well know. So venues were shut down, weddings were canceled or rescheduled. The model for how weddings work now in the last few years has shifted a lot. A lot of people are having very small private weddings and then throwing like a big outdoor reception a year later, 6 months later, something like that. And so they want to have like the specialty memories, the photographs of a wedding, but then when they throw a party, like a big reception party, they also want to kind of have yet another set of outfits or whatever. So that's where I come in. I have 2 amazing seamstresses that are working with me now. And the more help I have, the more work I take in, the faster I can get it done, the quicker it goes back out to people, and it sort of creates this infinity loop of I can get it done in a week instead of waiting. I was always the bottleneck because I was the only one in the sewing room, and then the phone would ring or somebody would come in the door, I'd have to jump up. So that time that I spent with a customer, which is very valuable, was time taken away from the sewing machine. So to sort of create, to have the ability to have more space, to create more workstations for people, to uncramp the space I'm currently in and push the customer service area over. It gives me the opportunity to create kind of almost like a private bridal fitting area. So a lot of times brides will be coming in, people are coming in, they see this woman in a dress making comments. You know, it's always very sweet and very nice, but sometimes a bride doesn't want other people to see what she's wearing yet, you know? So what I propose is to be able to create a space towards the back of 67 Center Street that is going to kind of give that kind of boutique feeling of this is your private space, we're here to take care of you. You know, here's seating, here's, you know, like a platform with the big mirrors and, you know, the sort of kind of specialty feeling that, you know, brides like to have. And that kind of gives me space towards the front to create 2 more smaller dressing areas for people who just come in who want their jeans hemmed or a shirt taken in or something like that. I currently only have 1 dressing room. So if I've already got a bride who's got all of her stuff in that dressing room, somebody else comes in without an appointment, it's only going to take me 4 minutes to hem those pants or to mark those pants, but I don't have a place for them to change, you know? So if I can kind of expand the work area side and create this kind of more streamlined, classy version, because if you ever have come into my business, it looks, I hate to say it, but it looks like bombs go off every day, because they do. Entropy happens. And so what I want to try to do is contain the entropy on one side and have it look like peaceful and beautiful and welcoming on the other side. So I hope that answers your question. Does it provoke any more?
Alderwoman McClure.
You mentioned that you plan to hire another individual. Tailoring is very much a lost art.
Yeah.
Do you feel confident in the hiring pool in Rutland to be able to fill that position?
I'm feeling more confident than I have. I have been able to hire 2 women through the refugee resettlement program so far, both women from Syria with excellent skill sets. They came in with like a set of skills that I've kind of helped guide and expand on. I know there's at least 1 more person within their community that can do what we do. Currently, I just don't have a space to put her. So I know that in the next 6 months or so, once I kind of have this all squared away, I will have the opportunity to offer more work. I also have been working this past year with Hireability, which is kind of like a connecting service to connect students and people who are looking to develop their skill sets with potential employers. And I was able to have an intern, a lovely young woman from Rutland High School, who came in with a lot of enthusiasm, some skill set, but towards the end of our internships, we ended up with 2 with her. I could see like a measurable amount of confidence brought up in her. She would answer the phone, she would make phone calls, she was very, very good at it. And in a 17-year-old girl, like, that's a big deal. Like, I remember as a 17-year-old being forced to answer the phone at my job, and I would always go, hello? You know, so to see her already at that level of confidence is really nice. And so I definitely would want to work with Hireability some more and maybe offer other internships to other kids who are interested in this craft. I do feel like It's an avenue for a way to make a living for someone who isn't ready for college yet, who isn't interested in college, can't afford it yet, that kind of thing. It is one of those crafts that isn't taught a lot in schools anymore. I don't think home ec is a thing in most high schools anymore. I was lucky to have an amazing home ec teacher at Mill River Union High School. We're still friends today. So she was definitely one of the mentors along the way to kind of get me to this career, I guess you would call it. So short story long, yes, I do think there is room for more people, and I do think there is a talent pool out there available. So.
Alderman Heck?
I'd like to make a motion to suspend rules and take the issue up tonight.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to suspend the rules. It's been seconded. Any debate? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the $10,000 buyout forgivable loan to Jennifer Usher, also, or DBA Make It So.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to approve. It's been seconded. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck to you. Thanks so much for picking downtown Rutland.
Next up is Recreation Superintendent Peters with a request for approval for the mayor to sign the Raha contract for the 24-25 season. This is on 67 to 69 of your packet.
Yep, so it should be in your packet, and this is for the suspension of rules to take up tonight for the mayor to sign the Raha contract. The increase in the hourly price is a little bit less than a 5% increase hourly for Raha. They have signed it and agreed to it, and now we're asking for the mayor to sign.
Alderman Adams?
Move to suspend the rules.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to suspend the rules. It's been seconded. Any debate? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And I'll move to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with Raha contract for the 2024-2025 season.
Second.
All right, and we have a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the Raha contract. It's been seconded. Any debate or discussion? Alderman Heck?
If I may, Kim, just in regards to the chiller project, where are we at in regards to that, just in case?
Yep, thank you. The safety pieces have been done with what needed to be done through VLCT and what was asked of our committee. I would imagine that in the next 30 to 45 days, we will be back in Rec Committee discussing the options for the chiller. So we've been working on different ways to finance that. Thank you.
All right. Any additional discussion or debate? The motion on the floor is to authorize the mayor to sign the Raha contract. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And now Superintendent Peters has various updates and announcements.
Okay, so parade update, weather looks good. There is a rain date for the next day, something that we learned about 4 or 5 years ago, that we need to not only have a rain date, which we did in the past, but also ask participants, will you participate in the rain date? And very high percentage, I think it's like 95%. As you see in the little graph, this is the highest amount of entries we've had in the last 5 years. All of the emails went out to all the participants of where they're at in the lineup. So we're moving forward with that. I do want to read a Rutland City Police Department PSA. Every year, about 3 or 4 weeks prior to the parade, I meet with all the department heads. What we realized this year is that the Paramount is having a show. This has happened before, but PD was also helped with that. We worked with the Paramount, and I'm going to read this just because we are on PEG TV. This will also be, it is also on our website, Facebook, we'll be planning it out. It's in the Herald and the Mountain Times. On October 26, 2024, the City of Rutland is hosting its annual Halloween parade through downtown Rutland. Between 4:45 and 5 p.m., all traffic to downtown will be closed to all who are not participating in the parade. The city is asking all parade spectators to expect and plan for limited parking near the parade route. The parade will start promptly at 6:30 and is expected to finish around 8:30 p.m. During the time of the parade, the Paramount Theater is also hosting an event at the theater. We are asking that the individuals attending the Paramount show plan for delayed crossing times as the parade will be actively in motion. We are asking that all theater attendees park east of Whale Street and walk to Center Street at Whale Street. There will be a designated area for theater attendees to congregate and be safely crossed through the parade by police. Those wishing to park in the parking deck will have to arrive and park no later than 5 p.m. Please plan accordingly, as you will not be able to leave from the parking deck until at least 8:15, 8:30 p.m. The parade route consists of Strongs Avenue, Wales Street, West Street, from Wales to Merchants, and Merchants Row. At approximately 1 p.m. on October 26th, parking on these streets will be prohibited. Any vehicles parked along the parade route after 1 p.m. could be towed at the owner's expense. And that's in your packet. Okay. Any questions?
The mayor seems to have a comment.
Is there a copy of that online for people?
Yes, yep, and it's in the Herald, should be in the Herald and everything. Okay. We also have our race that day, starting at 9 o'clock. We're gonna utilize the Creek Path. We're gonna start at Georgetti at 9 o'clock. That will go over the new Creek Path to River, and then we're gonna loop back around. So it's gonna be one loop ending back at Georgetti. We're asking for pre-registration. That helps with our, the software that we use. And then we're having an after party, thanks to the, I wanna make sure I get it right, Alliance Community Fellowship Church and Sunset Entertainment. There'll be bouncy houses for the kids after the race. So please pre-register. Okay, race, that's parade day. All right, moving on. So in your packet just has information of what's kind of coming up in the winter time. You'll see the rentals. We have a couple new rentals at the rec center. We have a martial arts event this upcoming week. That's for New England. So we have over 50 teams participating in that at the rec center. Also, the City of Rutland Employee Wellness and Benefits Fair will be at the rec center. And there was one other new one. Oh, the Elevate Women's Expo. I've seen a lot of Facebook posts, a lot of marketing on that. 50+ vendors that are attending that fair, and then multiple other events that we continue to host at the rec center. Something that I just want to mention, this past weekend, these last 2 weekends, been very busy at the rec. All of our fall sports are coming to a conclusion. We had great weather this year. We also are doing the Vermont Achievement Center, which was approved for the budget for this upcoming year. What we're doing with the VAC is we have a couple different options. We have swim lessons on Sundays. We have open swim for families on Saturdays. We have private party rentals available on Saturdays. And during the weekday morning, Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, we have open swim and aqua fitness. We are maxed out on every single one of those opportunities. We'll be offering session 2 in November, and then we'll be doing pop-ups in December and January. But one thing that was really cool this weekend, we had, and exciting to see, we had our big jamboree for our little kids football, and that was at Alumni Field at Rutland High School. There I saw kids in costumes, because guess where they were going afterwards, was down at Wonder Feet. Then I was at VAC helping wrap up the first session, and again, kids getting out of their bathing suits, getting their costumes on to go down to Wonder Feet. So many happy parents about the amount of offerings that are occurring. And I've said this before, it's not just rec, it is people like Lindsay who are putting events on, Wonder Feet, Come Alive Outside, Partners for Prevention, Boys and Girls Club, and that's been really beneficial to us, so everything doesn't land on just the rec department. So we've seen a huge influx, and we cannot be more thankful for all the other organizations that are coming forward. So I think that's really all I had.
Do you need to ask us something?
I don't think so. What do I need to ask?
The board to be in the parade?
Oh, yes. Well, so you should have received an email from...
I know. I want to
Yes.
make sure it's public so they know.
Okay, so I'll use Alderman Heck asked me too. If you're not exactly sure if you can make it, if you show up at 6:15, you can be in it. All right. So yes, we really would like to have support for aldermen to walk to start the parade for us. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was to embarrass others around.
It was fun last year,
It is
except
fun.
I'm going to ask the mayor to turn the lights up downtown just a little bit. Because thank God Chief Kilcullen was behind us, because then we could see from his headlights. It was a little dark.
Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you.
Next up is Engineer Gillen with a request to approve the traffic safety scoping study agreement. This is on pages 72 to 138 of your packet.
Hello. So it's been slow going on this traffic safety scoping study. We received a grant, $75,000, $15,000 match. We went through a request for qualifications process with my predecessor and failed to come to an agreement. That was probably about a year ago with a highly qualified firm. So we've went back to the drawing board, reissued the RFQ. I asked for this maybe a few months ago. We got a team together, help with the Rutland Regional Planning Commission. We evaluated the qualifications and began negotiations with the number one firm, and that's what I provided you in this packet. Their fee was not to exceed $60,000, so the bottom line is we have an agreement with the Planning Commission to assist with some municipal project management. That was for about $5. With Stantec, who was the negotiated firm, their agreement, again, not to exceed 60, so we're under budget. So I'm looking for permission from the board to grant the Public Works Commissioner to the authority to sign the US Route 7 US 4 intersections scoping study contract agreement with Stantec Consulting Services following review and approval by City Attorney.
Alderman McCann?
Motion to suspend the rules and take the matter
Second.
up tonight.
So we have a motion to suspend the rules. It's been seconded. Any debate? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And I would move to grant the Public Works Commissioner the authority to sign the US Route 7, US Route 4 intersection scoping study contract agreement with Stantec Consulting Services following review and approval by the City Attorney.
Second.
All right, the motion has been seconded. Any discussion or debate? Alderman McCann.
Real quick question, it might be in here, but can you, if it came in under budget, so what would the actual match from the city end up being? Has that changed? Would that be
Yes.
reduced kind of
It would be
proportionately?
reduced. It would
Okay.
be below 15, so 15 on 75, what's that, 20? 20%. It's going to be 20% of whatever the total fee comes out.
Okay, great, thank you.
Seeing nothing further, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Treasurer Markowski with the request for RFP for financing Johnson Controls Energy Performance Contract. This is on pages 139 to 144 of your packet.
Hi, everyone. So we all remember September 16th, the board approved the contract with Johnson Controls for the energy performance contract. So part of that, I needed to separate the contract and the actual financing from the project. And when I go back to the minutes, we didn't do that. So my request tonight is really to dot the i's, cross the t's. This is a really complicated financing. It's not just routine. We're not buying a truck. We're making an investment, and it's a 20-year term. And that really needs to be outlined in the city's records. And I am doing this after the fact because I've already started the RFP process, sat down with the attorney. We thought, this is appropriate. And then in working with some of the banks that I'm working with, they want to see the board's actual go out and get an RFP, and we're going to go ahead with this project. Because my thought is I don't want to waste anybody's time pulling together a proposal for this if we're not going to approve that RFP to go to bid for that. So anyone have questions at all before I...
Alderman McCann.
I just make a comment. I still think this is a really important step for the city to be taking, and I appreciate you sticking with it and making sure we're dotting those I's and crossing those T's, because it would be unfortunate to see it fail because of, you know, an oversight like that. So thanks for keeping us honest on it.
Alderwoman Davis.
So I did have a conversation with Mary and informed her that I'm voting no. And I'm voting no for the simple purposes that Anna Taddeo does a wonderful job doing her committee assignments and reporting out her minutes. And we never got this. And this is all the documents that went through it, including the contract. And we never got this. And I question whether the committee read this, had an opportunity to see it, and what do we sign on to? And I think those were some of the debates that I brought up before, was an opportunity to table it so the board could learn some more information. Before we signed the agreement, there was a, 15-day or some time of timeline where it had to be signed by the mayor. And I don't think there is a really great understanding of all the things that are in this proposal. The debate of it's science, it's not math. Well, it is math. And it's science if you, I think John stated last meeting, it helps with climate change. Great, but it also has an impact on the tax rate to some degree, or the taxpayer to some degree. So I don't feel I got my questions answered, so I don't feel that I'll support this financing as well.
Very good. Alderwoman Taddeo.
From my understanding, this was put into Finance Committee for next Tuesday?
That's correct.
So I just procedurally, shouldn't we wait to have this conversation after that meeting? I would make a motion to table this conversation until after the Finance Committee meeting where we would be discussing all of this.
Can I?
I'll second for
debate.
The motion to table, at least, yes.
Treasurer Markowski.
Did you intend to delay my request until the Finance Committee? Is that what you're saying, or the discussion of the purpose of the meeting of the Finance Committee, which I wish this really, if we went back, this should have gone to Finance Committee. This is a financing project. But it didn't. So what I'm asking, can I go out to RFP? The purpose of the meeting of Finance Committee is to review. You have approved this, so the intent, that's why I worked with Alderman Whitcomb to schedule the meeting so that we could review what we get and make a decision. Which financing package are we going to go with? So that was the purpose, not to discuss the project, because that was really done, or wasn't done, at the other meeting, so.
Gotcha.
So we have a motion to table. It's been seconded. Alderman McCann?
So am I understanding correctly that if we didn't approve this tonight, you wouldn't necessarily be able to go out for the RFP, so you wouldn't have things to review at the Finance Committee meeting?
No, I was clear in my memorandum that my request is after the fact. Okay. I've already gone ahead and reached out. I'm working with Johnson Controls. I've already gone out and gone to bid. I'm working with 5 or 6 different financial institutions and working on coming up with a plan for this project. So I regret that I'm doing it after the fact, but I am doing it. I would like it on the city's records that the board approves not just the contract, but the financing, the 20-year term that goes with this project.
If I see no additional, Alderman Gillum?
You need this for the finance people. You need a
right,
document
yes.
that the board has put their blessings on it. That's part of the process.
Yes, part of the process.
Alderwoman Taddeo.
Okay, so I will rescind my motion to table, and instead I will make a motion to suspend the rules.
Is the seconder okay with?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Second. So we have a motion to suspend the rules. It's been seconded. Discussion or debate on that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion passes.
And then I would make a motion to authorize.
Okay.
I would make a motion to authorize the city treasurer to seek proposals for tax-exempt lease purchase for an energy performance contract with Johnson Controls in the amount of $4,900,565 for a term of 20 years.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to authorize the city treasurer to seek proposals. It's been seconded. Discussion or debate? Alderman Heck.
Yeah, this thing just won't go away. And it's unfortunate because, I can see some positive things within this project. We had a fair amount of discussion while you folks were in Japan a couple weeks ago. Still not getting where it just seems like the cart's before the horse. And I completely understand where Mary's coming from in regards, just as her obligations as the CFO of the city, and to do what she would normally do, which is to make sure there's clear, precise information for the taxpayers. I just, I don't know, because it's unfortunate that this project's already moved ahead. The board authorized the mayor to go ahead and sign the contract. I'm not quite sure that we have done our due diligence in regards to making sure that the questions have been answered, the I's have been dotted, T's have been crossed, those kinds of things as far as that goes. But I'm just not sure how to resolve those so-called issues. And there are a fair amount of people within this building who still have questions about the legalities, the processes, the procurement aspect of it, and those things. And again, it's just sad that we have to move in this direction and be so anti when it probably could be a pretty decent project as far as that goes. I learned things from Alderman Adam, 2 weeks ago in regards to, so-called, processes within the solar industry and how those things could work or possibly not work. So I don't know. And I don't want to vote against Mary because she's asking for something, but at the same time, I don't approve the process of how it was initially started. So that's where I'm stuck at this point in time.
Any further discussion or debate from the board? Alderman McCann.
Just the reminder is, as I understand it, the contract that we had approved includes a guarantee from the contractor, which is a risk on their side of a $5,000 a year discount on basically what we've been paying on utilities and maintenance. So as Alderwoman Davis said, there is an impact to the taxpayers. However small that might seem, $5,000 a year, what we're getting for that discount is a crazy infrastructural improvement on a number of buildings.
And if I could just add the piece, and it's costing us $7.1 million over 20 years to get $118,000 worth of savings.
All right, Alderman McCann.
And I understand that is a big, scary number, but that is not a number of dollars in addition to the things that we would already be spending money on. That is in place of money that we will be spending on inefficient systems, inefficient buildings, and things like heating oil and things like that. So it's not in addition to the number of dollars we already spend. It's spending it on or in a different way.
Alderman Adams.
I would just point out that a buy into this now sort of precludes us from any significantly better and greener technology that comes out in the next 5 years. When you sign on for 20 years to this, that's where our money's going. If something comes out in 5-10 years, we can't say, I wish we didn't do that. There's a lot of advances happening. It's just another concern I wanted to bring up.
Alderman Gillum?
I wasn't necessarily against the project. I know we need to do some things to save energy and all that. It's just the process to get there and not having all the documents in front of us. And what is the hardship on each budget through all the departments? And are the buildings going to be able to handle that infrastructure on top? And it's my understanding some of these roofs are not going to be able to handle it. So there might be some outlay to bring the roofs into compliance so we can put those on there. And that is not in the contract. So I'm having some issues with the process, not the project.
Alderwoman Taddeo.
So, sorry to do this, but again, I would like to rescind my motion then so that there is further time to discuss this, because it seems that there are questions that haven't been answered, and I really think that it would be important that Dean from Johnson Controls would be there to assure members of the financial implications. And since there's already a meeting on the schedule for next week, it doesn't seem to delay things that much. So I would like to amend my motion to table this discussion.
Does the seconder agree?
I'm good with that.
Okay. Attorney LaChance.
If I may, I'm sorry, Alderman Heck, did you want to say something? I don't want to
Nope. I'm gonna
interrupt
listen.
your time.
I'm going to listen.
Okay, all right. So, and just to kind of iterate what Mary's asking for, her and I had a discussion, it's probably been about a week and a half ago now, to bring this before the board. The financing piece needs to start going forward, and she had to go out for financing on it. At this point, it is a bit of a retroactive approval. That does not preclude the board from potentially changing its mind or finding out more information at the financing committee meeting. This is just for her to allow to proceed with the process with the financial institutions she's reached out to bring forward those proposals. At this point, I believe that that the board committee meeting on Thursday on the 29th is going to be designed to provide additional information, was my understanding of that process. So I just wanted to reiterate that so we know what it is that actually needed to be voted on this night, and that's not the entire financing for the project, it's just to go forward and seek that approval.
Treasurer?
And I actually have been working with Johnson Control, so Dean is already planning to be there from Johnson Control at the financing meeting, and they've been very helpful in the RFP process. So.
All right, so we have no motion on the floor. The rules have been suspended. What is the board's pleasure?
Well, if I may, Mr. President, a motion to table rules everything, which there is no debate. I think you have to call the motion. You have to at least vote on the motion.
Did you make a new motion to table?
Yeah, just let's table this until the next meeting, after the finance committee meeting.
And did someone second that motion to table?
I'll second it.
Okay, great. All those in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion passes.
Okay, can I ask just a little clarification? I just want to be clear. I did go out and I am working with some financial institutions, so I do plan to have that, whether it's in the public record or not, because I felt I had worked with the city attorney and just doing my job, that's what I would normally do. So I just want that clear, just although you didn't approve the motion that I requested, I still need to do my job. So.
Understood.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We've covered reports of standing committees, reports of select committees, we have none. Reports of representatives, we have none. Petitions, letters, miscellaneous communications, I believe we have none. Board of Control Commissioners, we have nothing on the agenda. Board of Cannabis Commissioners, we have a retailer's renewal request from somewhere on the mountain. Can I get a motion to go into the Board of Cannabis Commissioners?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of going into the Board of Cannabis Commissioners?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And the request is to approve the retail license renewal for somewhere on the mountain.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to approve. It has been seconded. Alderwoman McClure?
I need to recuse myself from this decision due to relation to one of the applicants.
Okay, very good. Any discussion or debate on the motion to approve? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have one abstention. Motion passes. I'd entertain a motion to go out of the Board of Cannabis Commissioners.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That brings us to unfinished business. Any unfinished business? Seeing none, miscellaneous motions, resolutions, new business. Alderman Heck?
So just two quick things, and Mayor Dungus, I don't know if you can help answer this, but a couple folks have reached out to me, and they were told, or they were under the assumption, this has to do with the vacant buildings and trespassing signs. So this individual was told that they needed to register their no trespassing signs in order for them to be valid against squatters. I don't think they have to register, but if the city just wanted them to be proactive for empty buildings to put up no trespassing signs, so it would allow the PD to have more enforcement. Am I
So I think they might be conflating two different things, but let me try to clarify. In the city of Rutland, you are required to register your vacant properties. So if the property is vacant, they are required to register it. If they would like to put up a no trespassing sign, they can put that sign up and there is no registration required. If they want to call and inform Rutland City PD, and Chief, you can give me a head nod or a head shake on this if you like, but if they want to call and inform Rutland City PD that they have put up no trespassing signs, I don't think that would hurt by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay.
You good?
Yeah, you good? Okay.
And you had another item?
Yes, if I may, while you're there. I know it's a couple weeks out before the general election. Don't want to get into any kind of road diet type thing, but I am very, very concerned at Deer Street, across from Beauchamp and O'Rourke's. There is no left turn lane as you head east. So as you're going up Woodstock Avenue,
Yep.
you get to Beauchamp and O'Rourke. Before, you used to be able to take a left-hand turn there.
Yep.
And there's 1,500, 1,600, 1,700 voters that may utilize the Godnick Center. So if there's something that the city could do proactively to let folks know there is not a turn signal there, whether they choose to, not choose to, or how they're going to get to the Godnick Center, I just think that we owe that to the voters to try and get them there as safely as we can and avoid any kind of issues, as people are going to be turning left there, and it's going to stack up some traffic for sure.
It's a valid concern. I'll work with our department heads to try to either remedy the situation or put out some sort of announcement. Thank you, Henry.
Alderwoman Davis.
So I received a call, and I've spoke to Alderman McCann, who's our representative, but I'd like to refer to the Traffic Committee, a request for slow children at play sign for Cherry Street, and also there is some site issues on the corner of Cherry and Franklin. So I'd like to refer that to traffic, please.
Do you have a motion to refer? There's a second. Any discussion or debate on the motion to refer these items to the Traffic Safety Committee? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Any additional miscellaneous motions, resolutions, or new business?
I'll move to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.